All right, hi everybody. It's time for Missionary Stories with Mom. So today is story time. So I'm going to tell a story about our time as missionaries. Definitely some of our best stories and most exciting adventures happened to us while we were missionaries in Manila, Philippines. So for those of you who don't know, we lived there for 14 years. We loved it there. We consider Manila our second home. We have our people that we love dearly, like our own, very own family. All four of our kids were born there. When we came home from the Philippines, our kids told people they were Filipino Americans. They actually believed it when they said that. They felt like they were Filipino Americans. So we kind of had to break the news to them that they were really just Americans. But anyway, we had many great and exciting and fun and good adventures while we were living in the Philippines and during the time that we got to travel in other parts of Asia. For example, we got to swim with false killer whales in Subic Bay, Manila, and we got to camp with monkeys stealing our food in the jungles of Subic Bay, and we got to hold a baby lion cub in Indonesia. We got to bungee jump in Malaysia from 147 feet. It was an incredible experience, but you know, my three kids they were small and they were watching. It's like, seriously, what was I thinking? I have no idea. But we had many great and fun adventures. But the story I'm going to tell you today is about one of the maybe not so great adventures of our time in Manila. When we first moved to the Philippines, my husband and I, it was just the two of us. We didn't have any kids yet. We had moved in with a Filipino family, and our goal there was to get to know the people and the culture and the language. We spent a few months living with a really special Filipino family. Anyway, so we had gone, I think it was maybe our second night staying there. We had gone to buy a mattress topper to make the bed that we were sleeping on a little more comfortable, and we were in a jeepney. So if you don't know what a jeepney is, a jeepney started out like military jeeps, and they then elongated them and put bench seats in the back that faced each other down the back of the jeepney, and the door in the back you could get in and out, and they were used for public transportation. They ran along routes. You could get on for a few pesos. You could go down the route and get off wherever you wanted to. So they're a very convenient form of transportation, and they're found all over the Philippines. So we were riding in the jeepney. It was dark. It was nighttime. It was crowded, and we were carrying this mattress topper. So, you know, we already had something kind of bulky. We were squeezed in against a bunch of other people. What we didn't know is a man got in next to my husband, Jimmy, and started cutting open his pocket. Well, it just so happened that we had exchanged some money that day, and so had a bunch of Filipino pesos that we had exchanged for our dollars, and they were in his front pocket. Because he wasn't sitting on it, the man was able to cut into his front pocket with a knife and started pulling out the money. Jimmy didn't feel it because everybody was pushing up against each other. The jeepney was moving. So suddenly, he realized that someone was messing with his pocket. He grabs the man's hand, and just then a guy jumps up across the jeepney. He's like, "Don't move, don't move." Okay, well, you can imagine at this point how completely panicky I was. I had heard stories about people getting robbed on jeepneys because if someone blocks off that back door, you really don't have any way out. I had heard stories of them getting on, and they kind of work along with the driver. So the driver keeps driving, and the guys get on the back, and they make everybody hand over all their valuables and money. And at this point, I'm like imagining the headlines. 2 Americans are killed during an armed robbery on a jeepney in Manila. You know, that's what my parents are going to hear. That's how they're going to find out that we lasted 2 weeks on the mission field. So the only thing I could think of, and pretty much the only valuable thing I owned, was my wedding ring. And so I was just terrified. We'd only been married, I don't know, a little over a year, and I did not want them to get my wedding ring. So all this commotion's going on. It's basically a gang of robbers on the jeepney. All I can think about is my wedding ring, and I took it off and I hid it in my sock. So anyway, this all happened just in a split second. Before I know it, the guy had jumped up and said, "Don't move, don't move." Well, my husband was having none of that. I'm kind of surprised that the Filipinos messed with him. He's 6'4", but he stood up and pushed the guy across the jeepney. And that was it. They panicked, and the whole group of burglars jumped off the jeepney and ran away. We weren't robbed. I think they actually got a little bit of money out of his pocket that they kept. But as for my wedding ring, 28 years later, I still have it. So my hero husband saved the day. So that was just an interesting experience. We had many, many other adventures and many more pleasant ones than just getting robbed on the jeepney. That's it for story time today. We are the Songer 6. Go watch the other 5 videos and then be sure and like your favorites. That's how you cast your vote. And we'll let you know on Sunday who the winner is.